guys, we're gonna get started here. I just feel bad having the meeting today. It's such a nice day, unseasonably warm. But thanks for coming. It's great to see so many new faces. We have a lot to cover today, so let's just jump right in. Okay, so today all the leadership team is going to introduce themselves. Then we'll have a local project update from Priya. Andrew is around. Yeah. Then we'll have an update about the Cuchilla trip, and specifically we'll talk about the well construction. We'll go into a little bit more detail about that. We've got some of our hydrologists here that went on the trip to talk about it with us. We've got a couple available positions still. We'll run over some upcoming events, and then I think at every meeting we'd like at the end to just kind of have an open discussion and get everyone's feedback. So throughout the year, we're getting your feedback, and we're here for you, and we want to make sure that we're getting your input all the time. So we'll just go ahead and get started. I'll start off for the leadership team. I've asked everyone to give a quick spiel about who they are, like where they work, their role in the organization, and their goals for the year. So my name is Audrey Freiberger. I'm the acting president of EWVKC for the year. I am from St. Louis, went to school at Mizzou. I got involved in EWV at Mizzou in 2010, and I got to work on a project in Honduras with Mizzou EWV, and I traveled on an assessment trip and on an implementation trip to Honduras, where we worked on the design of a 3-cell wastewater treatment lagoon. I graduated from Mizzou in 2013 and moved here to KC and worked at a small structural engineering firm called SMA. After I was there for 4 years, I moved over to where I work right now, which is a company called Zaner that makes very atypical metal facades, like the Coffin Center and the K on the Royals Stadium. What's the name of that?
Coffin?
The Coffin. I was thinking the Coffin Performing Arts then the Coffin and the K, yeah. I got involved in EWV KC in 2014 after moving here. And I've gotten the opportunity to work on the Cuchilla International Project, and I've traveled on an assessment trip and an implementation trip for that project. While I do have a really cool job, it's not fulfilling in the way that EWV is. I think plenty of other people feel the same way. So that's the reason why I've gotten involved and stayed involved in this organization. As the president this year, just like to go over some of the roles and responsibilities so you know what to expect from all of us officers. One of my responsibilities is just to conduct chapter business, to conduct general meetings, and also officer meetings. That's a little behind the scenes, but just so you all know, the officers are meeting at least once a month in person, and we are constantly in contact through WhatsApp, email, and text. And then I will coordinate business between the chapter and EWV USA. Our other officers will go over the specifics of our goals for the year, but I just want to go over some overarching goals of mine, which is to increase our volunteer opportunities. I think that's what most of you are here for, is to get involved and do some good. And so we want to make those opportunities plentiful, and I want to make sure that they're accessible to you all. So one of the things we've done, just for an example, is made a new position, marketing manager position, so that anyone who's new can come to our website and it has useful information on it, and it has all of our contact information, and you know exactly who to go talk to get involved. Another thing we'll do to increase volunteer opportunities is hopefully this year start a new international project. We've been looking for one. We're in the process of doing that right now. And we're into a local project right now that is just ramping up. So now is a great time to get involved, especially if you want to do some local work. I am going to hand it off to John.
Hey guys, I'm John Kelly. I am the vice president for this year. I work here at Burns McDonnell in our oil, gas, and chemical group. Obviously a little bit different than working on water projects with EWB, but that's kind of part of why I like to be involved in EWB, kind of see the other side of things. My original involvement with EWB started back at KU. I got involved at the end of my junior year. I'd heard about the group and hadn't really been that involved yet, and I started going to some meetings, helping out with some of the design work, and put my name in the ring to try to get on the travel team with basically no expectation that I would. Fortunately, a spot was open for me to do it, and I got to go on that trip. We went down to Bolivia and actually had 2 active projects at the time. One was building a pipeline from a spring box down to a tank to store water for the village. And then the project I was actually on, we were building showers that could be heated by the sun during the day to save them energy. So it was a solar heated shower system to go into their latrines so they could actually shower, because the community didn't have that before then. It was a great trip. I was so thankful to get the opportunity to do it. And it kind of drove me into this role now, wanting to be involved with EWB as a professional. So when I started working here, one of the guys I went to school with, Brian Fosselman, was our VP last year. And he reached out to me fall of last year and mentioned that there was a spot open as director of operations. So I took on that role last year, which was a lot of fun, and it was great to work with everybody. And it's been awesome to be involved in the chapter. So this year I'm moving into the VP role. And the big thing with that, I feel like, is mostly assisting Audrey with whatever she needs. And I'm always willing to help out with anything anybody needs. As far as personal goals for the year, I think it is a big, important year for us to transition into a new project and facilitate the funding of all that and make sure we have a smooth transition, right? You know, we have everything we still need to finish on our previous project and close all that out while rolling successfully into a new one. So I think it's a good opportunity for us to build new roles and get more people involved. And it's great to see new faces out here, because I think there's a good chance to get people working both on local projects and our next international project. We can go on to Nick now, because that's the most I got.
Cool. Nick Ashbacher. I went to the University of Missouri. I was also involved with the Engineers Without Borders chapter of Missouri, like Audrey, but a few years after her, kind of got involved because Jake Sanders right here, he was like, hey, this is a really cool organization. I know you like to volunteer and do all that kind of stuff. So I was like, yeah, sure, I'll end up doing this. For me, I'm not a super technical person in nature, which is kind of funny because, you know, I'm an engineer. But I like the money side. I like doing the less glamorous stuff. I like to plan things. I like to put together events and then raise money for that. So that's kind of why I decided to take on the director of finance role, kind of do that. In this role, I'm kind of doing a lot of budgets, analyzing how we can, you know, raise money and do it like the least hard way to do it, so we don't put in a whole bunch of work. And then kind of outside of Engineers Without Borders, I like to travel. I really like to volunteer. I try to volunteer in DC once a week. And then I love the people I've met in this organization. I just love meeting people in general. So that's why I kind of like Engineers Without Borders. And then some goals for this year. I want to be able to raise $25,000. So we hit $20,000 this year, which is a lot of money for us. In the previous years, we've hit around 10, 15. So 20 was a really big jump for us. So I want to be able to raise $25,000 so then we can take on another project and kind of go into that transition pretty well. And then I want to do a fundraiser every quarter. So not only are we raising money, but we're also getting exposure to the organization, which I think is more important in some fundraisers anyway, other than making money. And then creating that collaboration group that we have and really creating like a group connection. So I also want to start a sand volleyball team in the spring. So if you guys are interested, I'd really love for you to contact me because I love doing that stuff. So. But that's me. I guess I'll hand it off to Steven.
Steve Austin. I work at Duncan Beach, civil engineer by discipline. And I was involved in Engineers Without Borders at the Kansas State University chapter for 3 years. Did quite a few officer roles in the organization, and I really believe in the work. And I've been involved with the professional chapter for about 2.5 years or so. I worked as a university chapter liaison, so I was able to connect with my home alma mater and other universities. And an opportunity came up to work in the director of operations role, which really interests me questions. I have some experience in an employee resource group in my company doing newsletters and organizing meetings and events, and so this kind of fit well into what I have some experience in. And so the director of operations is in charge of taking meeting minutes, managing the website, setting meetings, managing a newsletter, and kind of more administrative type tasks of the organization. So my goals are to really make sure the newsletter and that website are up to date with the latest activities, so that when people visit our website, it's not, that the calendar's filled out, so they really know what's going on, and maybe to improve communication and with newsletter input and streamline the process. That's pretty much it.
That's me. Hi everyone, my name is Priya Iyengar. It's kind of hard to follow after all that great speech. Okay, I'm Priya Iyengar. I've been with Engineers Without Borders since 2016, in December is when I joined. I really enjoyed interacting with all the chapter members. It gives me very interesting stuff to focus on apart from my full-time job. So I work for the City of Kansas City, Missouri at the Water Department. My primary projects that I focus on is the green infrastructure. Yeah, it's been an interesting ride so far. So last year, 2018, 2018, I took on the role of Director of Projects, and I continued this year. I wanted to be in it just to make sure that we have another new international project. Because last year, our goal was to run parallel projects, have multiple international projects and local projects, get more people involved and stuff. But we were not able to get a new international project since we were very focused on the DR project at the time, and so we're still focused on the same project at the moment. We've been exploring new ICP projects, and one of the projects that we were interested in is in Nicaragua. And about a week or so ago, we talked about it, and there was a note in the chatter that said there was a travel ban because of the political, social issues that are going on. And I was able to get in touch with the program engineer to inquire about the travel ban. And the response that I got was, we can go ahead and apply for the project, but we would have to wait until the ban is lifted to go on an assessment trip or any kind of trip. But up until that point, we can coordinate with the local NGO, get more information about what's going on, and kind of plan our technical aspects of things here locally. On the local project side, we were able to partner with Clement Waters. It's a nonprofit group organization in Kansas City. We partnered with them and kind of went through a brainstorming session with the owner and came up with items that we can do as engineers, and the folks that are in the chapter who can't travel internationally, they can support projects locally. And this was a great opportunity. Drew came through with a solid concept design, which he would probably go over today. Yes.
Sure.
I put the pictures in the PowerPoint, so I hope you're ready.
There we go. We can tag team. So the concept of Earthship is what came about, and Drew has created a rendering to put Joy, that's the owner of Clement Waters, to put her vision on paper. So from there, we want to take it forward into a design and then help her implement it through volunteer hours. So she's been contacting people to give their hours to actually build it. So it's been interesting so far. We'll get into the details later on. My goal for this year is to definitely get a new project, international project. And in the assessment of when I evaluate the new project, I'm going to be looking for different engineering elements in it that would pique your interest. And I think the sign-in sheet, it'd be interesting to see what different disciplines we have tonight, because as everyone said, we're seeing new faces today. So yeah, there's a lot of work to be done, and we're all game for it.
Teresa, since you dipped out of your training, you want to go?
Yeah, I'm in an hour training right now. So, I'm Teresa. I am I'm the marketing manager. I wrote mine out in my training, so I'm just going to read from my sheet. I graduated from K-State in December of 2017 with a degree in civil environmental and a degree in natural resources and environmental sciences. I work here, which is why I have my training here, and I'm an environmental engineer, so I do a lot of stormwater work, and I also do a lot of municipal solid waste, some CCR stuff, and environmental compliance. My professional achievement, I'm assuming we're going off the email list. I wrote a 1,000-page report after I did 3 months of field work, and it just got approved like last week by the state. So now they're gonna, it's the Columbia, Missouri landfill, so now they can expand that. More trash there. It's great. I attended a few meetings this past year, but I wasn't really involved. Like, I don't think they in my face. And I also went to the fundraisers, and I realized that I wasn't going to do anything unless I jumped in, so I jumped in. I think it's important for me to be involved because all of us have had a lot of privilege growing up where we grew up, and I'd like to be able to use my privileged life to help people that have a privileged life. So I see this as one of the ways I can do that. My role this year is marketing officer. So I'll be doing most of the social media stuff. I'll be sending you guys emails, and after today, hopefully I'll be the one keeping you in the loop. So if you have any questions, feel free to email me. I also have my personal email that you guys can get, and my cell phone number if you would like that. So I'll interact with whoever has stuff, but they need to get information out to you. And if you don't know who to contact, you can go ahead and contact me, and I can help connect you to the right person. My goals for this year are to increase involvement. I see a lot of new faces too, people that weren't at the last meeting. So I'm excited for that. If you guys have any contacts in the community where you think we could utilize them long term and we could get them to donate or more people who would be involved, that would be great. One of my goals is to have somebody from a different company, like different companies and different agencies, at least one person at each of the big ones and hopefully a lot of the smaller companies so that we have a contact there and we can use those resources. It'd be great. You guys have the sign-up sheet already? Can we talk about that?
Yes.
Okay, cool. That was my last thing. So I will have fun.
Awesome. Yeah. Have fun training.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll go. Don't remember the slides. I'll just do it. Hi guys, my name is Abe Fangman. I am the recruitment manager for Kansas City EWB this year. So I actually have no prior experience at EWB. I think I'm the only person of the leadership team that can say that. I do have experience recruiting for other organizations though, and I was asked to do this job. So I'm taking it head on, kind of jumping in head first or feet first, whatever. Anyways, so my background, I graduated from Kansas State University with a degree in civil engineering in December of 2016. I work here at Burns & Mac in our transmission and distribution group, which is power delivery to everyone else. I work as a civil structural engineer for them, just doing all the foundations and steel that goes into substations across the country. And I've been doing that for about 2 years now. So I got involved with EWB because I think as a civil engineer, there's just tons of applications for different things that we get to do to help improve infrastructure. And thankfully, kind of like Teresa mentioned, a lot of them we don't have to worry about in this country, but that's by no means the way it is around the world. So I figure it's a really good way to take my technical expertise and put it to good use. So some of my goals, or my job, the number one thing I have to worry about, and pretty much the only thing I need to do, is make sure we have great people working in all the different spots we need filled. So great people on project teams, great people helping out with local projects. Eventually, once we get to next elections, great people stepping up to be leaders. So my goals for 2019, first and foremost, try to make sure to keep people that are graduating from our local universities, which to me is K-State, KU, Mizzou, and UMKC. They all have student chapters, like pretty much everyone said. They were all involved in student chapters. So we want to make sure those people that graduate in December and May, they have a good pipeline to move quickly from their student chapter to our chapter to really bring their expertise onto this. Another thing I want to do, I want to increase the diversity of companies we have. I feel like and to be very clear, it's great that people are volunteering, but we kind of are top heavy on people from Burns & Mac and Black & Veatch. And we want to be sure we have a lot of different companies involved here because every company is good at different things. So
more companies we have exposure to, the more chance we have to do a really good job in everything we do. And the third thing is basically to support all of our different projects and fundraising events as they come. So that's basically all about me. Thank you all for coming tonight. And if you didn't get it when you come in, please grab one of the sign-in sheets. It's over on the front table. That will give us some nice information so I can contact you. Thank you all very much.
Adam, you're up.
Am I next?
Yeah.
Hey, everybody. My name is Adam Burns. I've been with Engineers Without Borders since about 2009 or so. I started in college when I was in Mizzou. Audrey and I actually worked on the same project in Honduras, where we did a wastewater treatment plant. And then over the years, I've held a lot of different roles with Engineers Without Borders. Currently, I'm a project manager for our local project, for our international project that's in the Dominican Republic. And I hold a few other roles that I wanted to share with you guys here today too. I'm also the Missouri State Rep for Engineers Without Borders USA. So that kind of means it's all the chapters in Missouri kind of a one point of contact to go and ask questions and kind of explain to me about stuff that they need help on. And then I kind of get more resources for them and get going in the right direction. Another role that I'm kind of involved in is as kind of like a quality reviewer for Engineers Without Borders. So this is something that would be open to all of you guys too. And it's not really a widely talked about position or role, but us as professional chapters, I think, have a lot of the expertise that role requires. So if you guys are interested in acting and serving as kind of a quality reviewer, what it is you kind of put in your expertise, and when that expertise need comes up in a project, you'll get a call. And you'll be reviewing people's construction plans, designs, implementation reports, and you'll be able to bring your knowledge and background to that project too. So it's a good way to kind of see a lot of projects at the same time. There's an organization there. I wanted to put a few other things kind of in perspective. We've heard from a few people tonight with plans for 2019. I've been in this chapter for about 5 years or so, and this is definitely the most momentum we've ever had going into the year. We've got more tools and resources that we've ever had. We've got more money in the bank for the project. We've got more relationships with NGOs built in other countries. There's just a lot of stuff that brings all the opportunities for you all to get involved in. So, like Dave was saying, jump in head first, feet first, whatever you want to do, but get involved. So, if there's any questions that you guys have, I'll hang around after the meeting too. We talk about the project and other things involved too. So, thanks for coming.
Alrighty. Hey everybody, my name is Jake Sanders. I think the way we kind of described it is I'm kind of filling into a co-project manager role with Adam here, so we can kind of transition him into other roles and kind of get me a little bit more familiar with the project. A little bit about me, I'm a mechanical engineer. I work at Black and Beach. I went to Mizzou. My experience with EWB goes way back to 2014. I guess not so far back compared to some of these guys, but I was the project manager there for our water supply project, and then I was a president there for a year. I was fortunate enough to travel with the team 3 separate times to Panama. 2 of those 3 times were actually after I graduated, December 2017. So after that last trip, I decided to get involved with the local chapter here, and then came to a couple meetings and decided to dive in head first and pick up the co-project manager role. There's still quite a bit of work to do on the international project. I know quite a few people here have actually traveled. So we're still trying to make sure that the well that we drilled is actually going to provide sufficient water for the community. And there's some coordination with our NGO in country that we still need to do to make sure that goes smoothly. And some of our experts are going to help us do that as well. And then, like Priya said, and some others, we've got some exciting opportunities with other international projects. So come ready to be involved, and welcome to the chapter.
All right, I'll wrap this up. I'm Drew. This is a really new role, maybe as new as like today. So I just saw my name there, so I'll say some about myself. So I went to University of Missouri, graduated in chemical engineering degree. I currently work at Garmin doing product design. It's pretty different kind of expertise. So a lot of like the main focus of what UWB does. I started coming to UWB last year. It was kind of just curious checking it out. I really loved the idea of how people can like come together and do something that like benefits people, and just kind of like the empowering nature of that, of like being able to actually do something and make a difference. Just thought that idea was really, really cool. So I stuck around and started just finding creative ways that I could contribute with my expertise, then also just learn about like a totally different side of engineering. So it's been really cool, really fruitful. It's just really interesting hearing about what other people are good at. So I've kind of dove into the local project that we've been working on, just currently sort of planning and figuring out how we're going to execute this Earthship project we mentioned with Clean Waters. So I think that the goal with just our local projects is just to provide ways that people can be engaged outside of like the international projects that have bigger gaps between milestones and like activities. So it's a way that you can like interact with people. It's definitely the way I got to know people here, just by jumping in and volunteering on weekends and getting to know people face to face. That's something that can like really jump into where we're at now. So I'm excited about what that will lead us to.
Sweet, thank you. I know that was a lot to get through. We've got a lot of great people on our team this year, so hopefully now you've got a better idea of who everyone is and what they do. So as you get an idea of how you want to be involved, you know who to go to. Abe put together this
I thought we were supposed to send this
PowerPoint.
No,
No, that was great.
Everyone knows you now.
Speaking of the local project, Drew and Priya would like to tell us a little bit about it.
Okay. I'll let Drew talk about this rendering, kind of what her idea is. But overall, so Clement Waters purchased a 4-acre lot in the Gregory Ridge neighborhood. It's a forested lot, and they wanted to build a healthy walkway, so earthen trail, a greenhouse, and a place to store their materials. But they wanted to put a greenhouse and a material storage area within an Earthship, which they want to pilot here, so they can implement this in, I guess, outside of the United States. The concept here is to, I guess, self-sustaining. Who here knows about Earthships? No? Okay. So it's all the concepts of rainwater harvesting, heat and electricity, not electricity, but heating and cooling arrangements within the building itself, how you use your natural resources and I guess facilitate all of that. So that's what you produced, and
yeah, I can give like a little overview. It helps that you guys know nothing about Earthships, so I can say whatever. All right. Yeah, like Priya said, Joy is trying to kind of experiment with like a small size structure here that then can kind of be implemented internationally. There's a big focus on using the materials that are available wherever it's being built at. So is this the only picture we have, by the way?
We've got all of them.
Put all 4.
Okay, cool. Yeah, if you kind of just go back to one, we'll talk about it from this one. It's a little washed out, but these are all tires. way. They'll kind of help give a little context to it. So yeah, basically, that's a simple structure using the resources available. So in this example, it's using tires packed and rammed with dirt that provide kind of the structure of the wall and then also help with the thermal regulation. You basically have this mound of dirt surrounding it with a water collection tank that collects drainage from the roof. It'll go through like a 4-part filtration process to get the water to the point that it's actually like drinkable. Because the idea is to be able to like wash like vegetables or produce or whatever you're going around it, or like technically I guess drink it as well if it's drinkable. So then we've got like these big ventilation pipes that are buried within the earth. Now if you roll back to that first picture, yeah, so this kind of gets to the main kind of point of the earth shift. It's like temperature self-regulating. So these are those ventilation pipes. Basically what happens is you have this greenhouse effect in the front, causes hot air to rise, and you've got like, you know, vents, in this case just like windows. So the hot air is going to rise and it's going to create a vacuum that's going to suck air across, through, and then out. So these ventilation pipes on the back that are buried in the ground help cool the air as it comes in, just using kind of the natural coolness of the surrounding earth. So you're going to pull in hot air and be sucking out, you know, like, or pull in cool air, and the hot air causes the vacuum to bring it through. So that's kind of like the summer condition, and then during the winter it actually just more as like a greenhouse. So you have like a thermal effect from that. So in Joy's circumstance, they're going to be growing plants, seedlings, and whatnot before they actually like start incorporating it, or like planting their seedlings across their property, and then storing tools and whatnot. I think her plan is to have it fairly accessible to anyone like in the neighborhood who wants to participate kind of in, you know, she has this idea called a food forest within this 4-acre plot. So they're planning to really try to engage the community through it. So yeah, and then this is just that runoff tank. So they'll have yeah, drinkable water coming through. That's the basics of it. Any questions on that?
Yeah, that window at the top, it's always going to be tilted, right? Just to let the hot air. Is there any reason to close it?
Maybe during the winter, when you're trying to like trap in some of that thermal heat.
Cool.
Yeah. You kind of strategically locate where you build it so that you have like during the summer, you know, the angle of like the sun's rays are going to be higher, so you're going to get less like thermal heating, and then during the winter, it's going to be kind of like optimized for as much greenhouse effect as you can get. So there's a lot that goes into like where you position it. Maximize it.
Is this based off of an existing design or kind of a novel design?
There are people doing it, yeah. So it's not like this is totally brand new.
And she actually worked on one with a friend of hers.
Yeah, that's right. Where she's got a lot of her ideas from someone who did this down in southern Missouri. It's kind of cool. The examples she's shown us, well, the southern Missouri one's fairly similar to what we're doing here, but other ones from, there's like some stuff in Arizona, and then internationally, where they've like used totally different materials. So they all like kind of have their own identity based on where they're geographically at. It's kind of cool.
So just for some context, where is her property though?
It is very close to.
It's Jackson and Gregory Boulevard.
Yeah, it's right by Swope Park. Yeah, really close to the zoo.
That's a good place to pick up a lot of tires on the curb.
Yeah, they very often get tires being dumped at their property, so the neighborhood's been really helpful in picking them up.
I passed 24 tires on the way here.
Yeah. Bring them all
There's
to
more work to
their
do then.
place here.
Y'all familiar with 311?
I work for the city, so yes.
Yeah, thank you.
So our loose timeline, she's trying to start constructing some of this like June, July. So she has a bunch of volunteer man effort starting around that time frame. So we're kind of working towards that as a target as far as planning.
I've got a question. How do you fill a tire with dirt? How do you fill a stack of tires with dirt?
Yeah, so it's like you do one at a time, and I think they basically set up this platform, set the tire down on it, and then they have like, I think they might sift through the dirt a little bit, and then they literally just pack it in using like kind of a, it's like where you crush like spices together, like that.
Oh, mortar and pestle?
Yeah, that kind of idea. So they just literally pack it in and then level it at the top using a pretty rudimentary board. I think is what I've seen with fast, and then that's about once it's packed to move it into the position. And I think there's like a sort of more of a plaster cob sort of final step that seals everything up together on the sides.
There's a lot of interesting components in this design. Since we're just now in the conceptual design, we've been talking to Clement Waters to get more ideas and what else she wants to see. We also have some examples that we're going off of. After this point, we would want to review the design and take it forward to a blueprint, something that she can use to get volunteer hours from different organizations. So right now, she's been coordinating with Youth Volunteer Corps, and they've promised to give, I guess, how many?
It's 15 people, and they're each going to volunteer 20 hours a week for 12 weeks.
Yeah.
So she has a lot of manpower.
She does, but what we need to provide to her is a realistic timeline of how they can achieve this.
And a realistic design, which she'll use to procure materials.
So the materials that she's trying to procure is all through donations. They don't have any money to purchase materials. But basically going and coordinating with all these organizations. I think Firestone to get all those tires, making sure that all the tires are equal, like size-wise. And bottles, I'm not sure. So that's a task in itself that we need to understand from her. What does that procurement look like? How long is it going to take? And how long is it going to take to implement it? So last year, what we did was, along with the Earthship, she also has, like Drew mentioned, she has a food forest that she wants to build to provide food for the neighborhood because they're not able to access food. So this will be the closest location that they can get food. So last year, I think it was October or September, Pasha and I volunteered in building the urban trail, which was pretty neat, but it was really hard because it was labor intensive. I work in front of computers instead of TV, so it's not something that we do every day. It was a neat experience, and those kind of opportunities are going to show up this summer, spring and summer. But before that, Earthship is something that I think we should bank on and try to learn from it because there are so many neat concepts. When you look at it in detail, I think there are elements that we're not seeing at this moment. It might show up during implementation. So that's something that I want all of us to think about. There are resources that Clement Waters has provided. There is a Google Drive folder where we'll put all the files. You can check it out and see if something sparks. So that, yeah, I've highlighted concept design to show that we're in the concept design level. And we'll work through the schedule and possibly show it to you guys at our next meeting.
Yeah, we just met with Joy this weekend and learned a lot about the volunteer hours that she's got, and we went through your design, your rendering, and we've got a much better idea from her about what she's looking for. We need to sit down amongst ourselves and come up with a schedule and then turn that into volunteer tasks that we can get help on. So that will be coming. Thank you guys. Adam and Jacob and Jake, you want to talk a little bit about the Cucci trip?
Yeah. Turn the lights off.
I just want to do
I
that.
haven't used this room.
Oh, here.
I haven't changed the lights in this room, I guess.
Yeah, just hit that button a bunch of times. Okay, so we can see everybody.
Okay.
So I want to introduce everybody to a few people here. One of the things that we did on our trip down there was we had a big water committee meeting where we actually formed the water committee that's going to be managing and operating this project once we construct it. And they're really going to be running the show here for generations down the line. So we elected a president. His name's Rolando. He's right here. He's an interesting guy. He actually lives in the town over, but was born and raised in the town of Cuchilla. He's kind of always got a project going on, always working, always hustling, always trying to figure out some way to better himself, his family, his community. So he's just a really go-getter kind of guy. The whole community was like, well, yeah, Rolando's the president. He's always the president. So it was cool to see him take charge and run the show there. So we have 3 other positions, kind of like our positions here. We've got a director of finances, so that when they got water bills and monthly bills that everybody has to pay, always go through one person, they get logged, there's receipts, and they go into an account. The person running that is going to be right in the middle. This is Karina. This is actually, we took this picture at her house. Her family and her mom cooked us lunch every day, and it was delicious. Her background, she's going to college right now, and she's studying to be a teacher. And then the guy next to her, this guy's name is Francisco. He's the pastor for, I think either, he lives in the town, but I think he's the pastor of a church in Abate, really close to there. He's got a long background in working with concrete pipes, and he knows a lot of trades too, in addition to being a pastor. Lady sitting next to him right here, this is Yuna. I'll show you her house in a second here, but the reason she's going to be the operations manager, so she's going to be the one that's actually turned the valves on and off every day, making sure people get water on time. One of the reasons that she's the operations manager is because her house is here and all the valves are right here. So she's just in a good spot to be available for the community every day. And then you kind of see us in the background here. This is Carly. I'll be mentioning her name a lot. She is our NGO contact down there. She works for World Water Relief. She manages all their in-country operations. She used to be a Peace Corps volunteer in this area. Fell in love with some guy, married him, and has been there ever since. So she's been living in the DR for 3 or 4 years now. And then one more person. This is Stephanie, and she is currently in charge of the whole community's hygiene committee. So she kind of makes sure that people are adding the bleach, or what they call chloro, which is chlorine, to their water before they drink it, so it kind of kills all the bacteria. It's like 3 drops or 5 drops per gallon or something like that, and that disinfects the water, kind of like an iodine tablet if you're in the camping or something. So we kind of brought her into this water committee so that the water committee kind of has a holistic sanitation background in it too. So I wanted to go over kind of just a quick recap of what we did on the trip, what we accomplished, what we got left to do. And then we've got 2 people also traveled with us, Jake and Jacob. Another Jake. We got like 3 Adams now, so it's confusing. But so we encountered, like on every single project we do, we encountered something different in the field than what we planned for. So we had to figure out ways to react to things and get the best thing in the ground, the best well in the ground that we could while we were there. So we just want to go over a few of those. Yeah, next slide. So last time we talked, they didn't have a school here. There was a building there, but it wasn't completed. So I want to give you guys an update. This is the school now. It's up and running. Kids are going to class there. I don't know how much they're learning, but they're running around at least. So the government came through last summer and totally paid off the contract that was owned. The construction company went and completed the thing, and then they've been since August, the whole school year, I think they've been running. There's some teachers in there teaching and everything, so it was just really awesome to see. Next slide. So this is the valve station we installed. So during this trip, we drilled the well. We've got it up to the ground and ready to drop a pump into it. We installed like 2,000 feet of piping. We also installed this valve station. So I just want to walk through you guys a little bit here. So this pipe right here is the 2-inch line that's going to be coming from our new well. And this riser right here goes up and fills the tank that this picture is underneath. There's a big tank right above that. And then this pipe, this is the line from the old well that isn't going to be used anymore. So we've got just an on-off valve here and here. So this will be always closed and this will be open. So we just pump through here and go straight to the tank. And then after it comes out of the tank, the whole town is gravity fed into this new distribution network that we just installed. Remember that? This is the main line from the tank. And then this is like a bypass so that we can totally bypass the tank and pump straight from the well to the distribution network. So you close this and open this, and then you'll be pumping straight from the well to all the community members. We installed this little T and valve. This is eventually going to be space for a chlorinator that we're going to install here, so we can get some kind of residual chlorine in our distribution network, just to deal with any pipe breaks or contamination issues, because there's livestock and bacteria all over the place here. And then we just got a little air relief vent up top. It's very manual. Like just open it until water comes out, close it, and all the air is out of the system. And then this is really what we worked on. We installed, we split the whole community up into 3 water districts. The reason for that is they had all one water district, the way their current distribution network was piped up, and they weren't getting enough flow to all the houses. So we split it into 3 to distribute the flow better. And this is where Nuna is going to come. You kind of see her house in the background there. This blue structure over here. You can kind of see where the valve station is. It's just inside the fence right there. So she's going to come here every day, turn on and off the tank, and then turn on and off whichever zone. It's supposed to get water according to that schedule. That took a lot of work, a lot of digging. This is us installing a lot of pipes. So we ran into a few problems. We were kind of just told that a trencher was going to show up. They didn't tell us what a trencher means. So apparently that means a full-on backhoe, which was just awesome. When it showed up, it rolled into town. We were like, all right, we're getting this done today. So we probably trenched about close to 1,200 feet of trench, and we probably put like 2,000 feet of pipe in that trench. This is kind of what we were working with during the day. Cows all over the place. This cow actually jumped across this trench like 3 or 4 times. We were dealing with busted pipes that we broke. There's an existing pipe that goes down this road right here, and there's little 1/2-inch connections that go across here. So every once in a while, we would pop a pipe out of the ground. We have to go and fix it real quick. So we would dig the trench, and then the community was responsible for backfilling it. And they were pretty quick. The next day or so, the whole thing was pretty much backfilled. The guy with the backhoe showed up pretty late in the day. He showed up at like 3 or so, so we were working into the night. There's no lights in the community at night, so we were going out with his headlights and our iPhone lights. Yeah, let's go to the next slide. All right, so I just got a few timeline pictures here of the well. When we showed up on site, this is what we saw. So you can see they poured a little concrete pad just to get their opening set That's probably goes down about 10 feet or so, and it's like a 20-inch metal pipe opening, so then I actually get the drill shaft in there. Over here, these are all the drill shafts. These are all of the well casings that actually form our well. More pictures of that. This is all just a fine gravel, and this is kind of a mud pit. She got some more pictures of that coming up here. The other thing that happened is we broke a pipe, and it turned out to be the best thing that we could have done on this trip, kind of ironically. So there's this giant field. For some reason, we picked right here to drill our well and hit exactly a 2-inch pipe that was going right here. I don't think we could have done that if we had like ground penetrating radar or something like that. So, so we hit that pipe, it broke. And the good thing is that we had no idea where to do our time point for the second zone. So by breaking this pipe, we automatically knew who all was being served by that pipe, because we knew we didn't have water. And it turns out it's like the perfect amount of people in the right area for that second zone. And we found the header that served all of them. So now we've got our time point for our next zone. So by breaking that pipe, it helped us out a ton, actually. They were without water for like 3 days, but Jake was carrying buckets to their house, so they were, because he's a big, strong guy. So they were good at that. Next slide. This is the well casing. So the one on the short section on top, that is the very bottom piece. It's kind of cut and folded closed and welded closed to form the bottom cap of the well. Then you can see all these slots that we've got in the well. Those are all perforations for the water to come through the gravel screen. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Pipe with some holes in it. Here's the drill rig. We're kind of checking it out because we weren't sure what kind of drill rig would show up, and we didn't know what we were going to work with. But we saw this, we were pretty surprised in a good way. So Max, who's standing there, gave it a thumbs up, so we were good there. So this is once the driller got up and running. Well, actually, right before it started operating, they're still setting things up here. So the kind of operation, this was all new to me. I've never drilled a well before. So they kind of dig this mud pit over here, and they mix basically their drilling solution that they pump into the well, I think, and then that kind of lubricates the drill shaft, and that's how they get all the material back out also. So as they were drilling down and forcing this mud solution down into the drill, all the water was coming back out right here. And this is where Jake and Max and Jacob were kind of working, trying to figure out what the subsurface we were actually encountering by taking samples of that material that was coming out of there. Yeah, next. So here they are mixing that drilling solution in the mud pit there. Eventually that was almost totally full of all the stuff that came out of the well, and it got pretty nasty, so trying to make sure no kids fell in it. Because they were all over the place, like as you can see here. So anytime you're doing something, you usually have about 10 people wondering what you're doing, watching over your shoulder.
Well, I think school let out one day, and then everyone from the school came over and was hanging out around the well.
Yeah, because we're drilling this really close to the schools. They're probably just watching us all day through the windows.
Yeah.
Whatever was going on. This was kind of our setup. We kind of just pulled our cars close to the well and made this impromptu hammock so we could get some shade. It was like 90 degrees down there, sun beating on you all day. I don't know how they drink coffee in that weather, but they still do early morning. So this is kind of where we're taking our samples right here. We're kind of lining them up and seeing what's coming out of there. So we were taking samples every 10, 20 feet or so. And I think I got one more picture, and then Jake, if you don't mind going through here. So yeah, here's the finished well. This is how we left it. We've got the picture at the bottom. We basically just threw a bunch of tarps around it so nothing falls in the well, people aren't throwing rocks in it, that kind of stuff, just keep it safe. Yeah. So we ran into a handful of issues as we were drilling the well. We weren't really happy with the material that was coming out of it. Meaning at the subsurface, we were actually putting the well in, may not produce as much water as we would like it to. So Jay, I know Jay can explain further than I can.
Yeah, so like he mentioned, we had some troubles. We did some homework as much as we could. We found some resources on the internet about geology down there, and just looking at maps and trying to figure out the geology. We had a basic idea that we'd probably find some sediments, and we were hoping to find coarse sediments, so sands, gravels that are going to produce a lot more water. So as we were drilling, like Adam had mentioned, we were grabbing samples from what was coming out. You know, it's not ideal, but it gave us a decent understanding of what the subsurface was. And then we also talked with the driller who's local there and knows, you know, what he's drilling through. If he, you know, drills through something hard and dense, he'll be able to let us know, and that's not necessarily good for us. So, yeah, as we drilled, it was a lot of clay, very little sand. The sand that we did find was very fine grained, and we didn't think it was very thick lenses, and hard, dense, dry clay, which isn't ideal. And it would even come up, you know, through the cuttings after it had run through everything, still dry, some of it. And it was really hard drilling. So yeah, it was what it was, and it's that's why I have a job as a geologist. Is you never know what you're going to find until you get down there. So we made a log of what we thought we found. We talked with the driller again, and just kind of made a best plan. Now, another thing we ran into was they just do things differently down there, and that's something you have to kind of just deal with. You know, they were used to drilling wells differently and setting them up differently than we do here. So, you know, they had some ideas that we were not okay with, and we had to hash out those differences. So what ended up happening is we had them drill more perforated screens. So the drill casing that you saw the picture of, it was perforated, and they did that by hand with a torch, which isn't typical here. So that pushed us back another day because they had to go back to their shop and do that. But it got us more screen interval, and we were just hoping that more screen interval will give us more water so we can hit all of the little sand lenses that we encountered, that we're thinking we encountered. So that put us back another day, but we got the well in, and they put in the filter pack, the gravel, which, you know, the filter pack was even different. It was a fine gravel where we typically use, you know, a coarser sand. And got the well in, and it was, I think our water level was, what, 10 feet, give or take. And we had hoped that we would have time and they would have the equipment to pump it. Part of the development to get a proper well, you want to surge it a bunch with the, you know, mechanically, and then pump it at the same time. And that gets all the fine materials out, anything that was introduced during the drilling. But they did things differently and didn't necessarily have a pump that we needed, and we also ran out of time. So they mechanically surged it, and we are hoping that, so we took an initial water level several times, and then they bailed out water out of a big baler that they hooked to the back of the rig. And so then after they took so much water out, and we couldn't really measure that just because it came out, shooting out all over the place, but we took another water level and it recharged pretty quickly. So that was promising. And then, you know, we think with the other wells that were in in town that, were screened in similar sediments, and those produce, they have silt problems, but we're thinking that it should be good, but that is the next step, is to pump the well and see what the capacity is. And develop it a little bit more, too. We'd like to get some of the fine stuff that was introduced when we drilled it.
Yeah, thanks, Jake. I was just trying to get a link sent to your computer, John. It's got a bunch of videos of us drilling the well and stuff like that. I just sent it to your Burns Bank. But so next steps for us is we've got to figure out basically how much water this well is going to make, so we can help right size our pump and do all the next steps here. So in addition to this, we've got to build a structure around this little 10 by 10 concrete building with a door on it, and it's going to house all our electrical equipment, and it's going to hang the pump down into the well and everything too. And it's going to have a lot of valving and stuff like that in there. So that'll be next step of construction. Then we've got to get it hooked up to we've got to get the pump hooked up to the electrical grid. So we're going to have to pull a line down from you kind of see the power lines going back and forth there. Closer to the school, there's a transformer that we can tie into and kind of run a line back towards, but we got to find the electrical contractor for that. And then there's kind of just a bunch of end of project wrap up kind of items that we're going to need people to help out on, stuff like making an O&M manual. We're going to make kind of nice laminated placards that go next to all the valve stations saying what each stuff does in Spanish, so that even when we're gone, they've got something that they can reference and use. So it's kind of all stuff like that that we're going to be working on the next 6 months or so for this project. Did the link work?
I got nothing.
Okay, maybe my computer's not working.
You gonna plug yours in?
We could. How much more do we have left to talk about? Because I just got a
Some
few
business
videos that are
stuff.
kind of cool. So
We can go through some business stuff, and then
Cool.
you want to show some videos. You want to find them while we're.
sure.
So we still got a couple open positions. We're just starting off the year, so now is definitely not too late to get involved. We're looking for someone to help us write grants. We've written a few, so you'd have templates to go off of, and we have someone who's volunteered to proofread, someone who has lots of experience writing grants. So you definitely would have help if you were interested in that. And also we're looking for someone to be the fundraising events manager and work with Nick to plan all of those fundraising events. We're trying to have more this year, and yeah, we'd like someone who is just dedicated to that alone. So if you're interested, let us know. Throughout the year, we'd like you to expect a general meeting every month. It'll be the first Monday of the month. We're going to start doing happy hours on the probably the third Thursday of every month, but at least one a month. And then we'll have those quarterly fundraising events that you can look for. So wrap up with a couple upcoming events. Our next general meeting will be Monday, the first Monday of February. And then we'll have a happy hour on January 17th. We'd like to look for other locations for meetings, so we're not having them here all the time. So if you know of a location or you think your office would be a good spot, let us know. And finally, I just want to point out some of our communication methods. You can email any of us. All that information is on the website. Our website's up there. We have a Facebook page and a Facebook group. We have a WhatsApp group, so if you'd like to be part of our WhatsApp group, just let us know. We'll get your number and add you to that. And then Teresa is creating an Instagram for us because we have lots of pictures to share, especially from our trips. Adam, did you find your videos?
See if my face pops up on there.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah, I see it. I see you.
Any questions on the project? I know I went over a lot. Yeah, what's up?
So when you're talking about tying into the electric grid,
Uh-huh.
Who's paying for that power? The government or?
There's a electrical utility. Where's the mouse? There's an electrical utility there. These guys are just kind of considered like, basically everyone in this area is just considered like a parasitic load on their system. They don't meter it, they don't bill it, they don't repair it, they don't maintain it, they don't do nothing. It's just there. So
It turns off at one point.
yeah, so they when it's peak power, they get shut off. All that electricity goes somewhere else. So they really only get electricity during off-peak times. So we don't have to ask anybody. We just go. So I've got a few, unless there's any other questions, definitely stop. But I just wanted to give you guys a feel for kind of the site. I think this was the video I was looking for. Yeah. So this is them changing out one of the drill shafts. You can see a guy down at the white pipe right there. He's kind of sifting through the cutting material, looking for gravel, sand, stuff like that. He's kind of will raise the flag if he sees anything. And then the guy in the white shirt and the red hat, that's Victor. He kind of owns this drill rig. He's the contractor that we've been working through and talking to for months and months and months. And then his son, who's also named Victor, is wearing that gray polo over there. I thought this was a longer video, but so like I said, when that trencher showed up, it turned out to be a backhoe. That was pretty awesome. You can kind of see how tough this road was to dig through. They probably had at least 2 feet of backfill on the road that have been compacted down, just huge stones, gravel, and everything. It's going to form the foundation for, eventually they're going to actually pour a road there. So we had to dig through that to get our pipes down underneath that into the clay. So we ended up digging like at least a 3 to 4 foot deep trench all the way down there. And he just kept going and going. So probably took him from 3 o'clock till 7 p.m. or so to get all that done. So did a good amount of work. This was the main video I wanted to share with you guys.
You have a video of if you want to start.
We have pictures of that. So I did send this to as many safety officers at Burns and Mac as I could. They all appreciated it. This is kind of a time lapse of this guy just going to town and me standing around doing nothing.
This is taken from the water tower.
Yep. By Audrey.
You have to like climb up the water tower and then you get a good view.
Yeah. Dodge the wasp nests.
You're talking
So
about.
if they pave that road, your pipes are going to be under the pavement.
Yep.
So our original idea was to put all the piping outside of the road, which would have been great, except we could not do that with this backhoe.
Yeah.
There wasn't room for it, and this guy couldn't have gotten in there.
Yeah.
They installed their power lines, the poles for the power lines. They were probably like within 6 inches of the curb, so we couldn't get a pipe through there.
And
It'd
then
be too much work to go around it and dig it by hand.
Immediately after that, a lot of the houses start.
Yeah.
So.
And some people's favorite trees, which, I mean, it's so hot down there, you can't take away shade. It's like a criminal act.
Yeah, when you laid the pipe in, did you put the existing material back in?
Yeah, we did. We had an army of children help us out with that. I'll just play this video. I'll talk about it. Yeah, after school let out, and that was really cool because we were frustrated. This video right here is probably like the most community involvement we got. This was like taken on a Wednesday of the trip, and we were just really hoping for more people to show up and start helping us. I think a little after I had shot this video, well, no, she's over there. She walked up to us in like high heels and a dress, grabbed a pickaxe and said, "I am a 57-year-old woman." And she just started. And her point was to put all the other guys to shame that weren't helping out from the community. I think she's standing behind the tree right there. Those are her daughters helping. This guy was awesome. He helped us out every day, showed up before we did. So.
And taught us Creole.
Yeah, I think he's Haitian.
That's the mayor.
What's that?
Everyone, before we wrap up here, I forgot to put a line on the sign-in sheet thing. If you speak any languages other than English, please write them, and like on a conversational fluency, you don't have to be like 100% fluent, like Bert speaking it, but if you speak it pretty confidently, please write that down, just so we kind of know what we're working with, because obviously if we work anywhere in Latin America, I think there's maybe one country that English is their main language, so just so we kind of know what we're working with.
That'd be a huge help. We've relied on one person pretty heavily to do most of our translating.
Yeah.
This is how you mix concrete.
So this is the concrete that was mixed for the pad that went around the valve station.
Yeah. And if you've ever like done work on an EWB project, literally anywhere outside of America, this is how they mix concrete everywhere in the other 98% of the world.
Seriously?
Wow.
Yeah. So the way you do it, it's kind of cool. I got some pictures of it, but I took a video just to like show people. But anyways, you kind of make like a gravy volcano a little bit, and you basically just mix sand and gravel together, and then you just pour your cement mixture on top of all that. You just start pouring water on inside of the volcano, and then you just keep mixing, kind of like you're making bread, and you just fold it over and over with a shovel, and eventually you got kind of this already sitting on the ground. It's not really as messy as it actually looks when they're done with it. So back to the other question, filling in the trench. We started just throwing everything in there, and then Steven mentioned we started pulling rocks out. I'm like, well, what are we pulling rocks out for? Like, well, if any rocks are next to the pipe, it's going to rub and put pressure on it and cause a leak at some point. So we got as many kids as we could to jump in the trench.
Well, they thought it was fine. It was not child labor.
Yeah,
they were
they would start pulling rocks out of everything, and then we gave them some shovels too, and they were starting to fill everything in. So we had like the cleanest fill we could, covering about like the top 3 to 6 inches of the pipe. So they were totally covered, and then we just told the community fill in everything else after that.
Did you have like a roller actor?
No, just kids. Stomping around.
Little feet.
Yeah, little feet. Yeah, so that's what was mentioned, the community involvement. We didn't really see anybody showing up helping us out on our projects because we were working in the day the whole time, and they were all working, so they weren't. So when we were working on the trenches late at night after everybody got home from work, well, everybody started helping us out. So there was probably like 20 to 40 people, including kids out there helping with their parents watching them and or not watching them. I was going down the trench trying to look for rocks and stuff like that,
and Steven's glasses.
And yeah, and a bunch of stuff.
Yes.
And then I kind of came across Audrey speaking in Spanish to an army of toddlers, directing them trying to get the construction project done. So, Audrey, what are you doing? But we got it done. It was a good day. Yeah, any other questions?
Project related or otherwise?
Yeah.
Do you have some kind of a notional schedule for the things that need to happen next?
Yeah, I'd like to go back like before the summer. So it's kind of a quick turnaround. So in the next 3 to 6 months or so, I'd like to have another trip down there with another travel team to where we go back down there and we're going to commission the whole system and it's going to be ready to go. It's going to be operational.
Is that kind of event-based? In other words, they have to accomplish certain things before you
Yeah, so we've got to find that electrical contractor. The community is actually going to build that pump house structure.
Yeah.
They've got enough masons and concrete guys down there that they can do that all themselves.
Is the pump house where the valves are, or the valves somewhere else?
Yeah, they're somewhere else. They're over by the tank. So you kind of see in this picture, the tank is behind me on this road, and if you go up a little bit and turn left, the well and the pump is over here. So they're separated by a good distance.
They will also be responsible for building a little structure around those valves that we were looking at, because since they're PVC, they shouldn't be out in the sun.
Yeah.
So they will build, that's why we poured the concrete pad there. They'll build a 3-sided structure, just a concrete block structure and a tin roof on it, just to protect those.
You're gonna paint EWB on the water tank?
I think we'd rather let them take ownership of it and paint whatever they want on there.
There'll be something on there.
Yeah.
We'll have fun.
They've painted their other pump house with they've got a map of the Dominican Republic, I think in Haiti on there. They've got the whole island on there, and they've got all the provinces painted on. So it's real colorful. Imagine they'll do the same.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll wrap up. Sorry, we went pretty late tonight. If y'all have any questions, officers will stick around. Thanks for coming.
Oh, feedback.
Oh, yeah. Just want to get your feedback on, especially, I like to focus today on other topics that you want to hear about during our general meetings. What are you interested in? I know we talk about the international project pretty often. We'll dive deeper into the local projects. Are there any other aspects of EWB or engineering that you want to hear about?
Where's happy hour on the 17th?
We don't have a date yet. We'll send that out. Or we don't have a location yet. Yeah, sorry.
Okay. Got a plan ahead.
Yes.
You guys have other projects in, like not Central or South America, or is it pretty much that area? Is that where it's just easiest to find things?
So for right now, we're trying to focus on getting a project in Guatemala because EWB has an office there. So the thought process was it would be easier to communicate with them to get any information that we need for the project. But generally, projects are scattered all around the world. Last year, what EWB USA did was they tiered all these countries into priorities. So tier 1 is #1 priority. So there are a list of countries under tier 1. Bolivia, I think, is tier 1 country, meaning that there is there is a need for infrastructure in that particular country than compared to a country listed under tier 2 or tier 3. The Dominican Republic is in tier 3, just as an example. But like I said, Adam pointed out a project in Nicaragua which seemed interesting. There are different disciplines that we can work in, sanitation, solar panels, very similar to this project. So that's, we're trying to evaluate if that's even feasible or not. Last year we saw a project in Guatemala where a community's primary resource was to get water from a spring source. And I think, what box was it? What's the name of the box? Spring box. So the need was to design a spring box and a distribution pipe, storage tank, and all of that. So it was pretty cool, but by the time we could apply for it, some other chapter took, yeah. And there's pretty good competition for Guatemala projects, primarily because there's a EWB office there.
It's also worth noting that if obviously Central and South America is the closest geographically to us, so yeah, fastest to travel, cheapest to fly to, so we have more time and money to spend on the actual project, as opposed to flying halfway across the world.
Yeah,
yeah, same time zone, so it's not, you're not
There are
super jet
several
lagged.
projects in Africa at this moment. Again, it's the travel. But if someone's willing to take the lead on a project, and if you find a project interesting in a particular country, please let me know. Because you could take the lead and say, hey, I have time, I'm interested in the project and I want to lead it. So you can start from there and we can provide support as you need. So we're open to that. Along with those, if in your community, here in Kansas City, if you find a need, I guess in an institution that you know, like schools or any other institutions where I guess there's did we talk about electrical assessment, energy assessment for a particular building? Whatever it is, just keep us informed.
Any other thoughts, questions? Yeah.
This is my first meeting. If I want to get involved and contribute, technically, do I just reach out to a project manager and say, I think I know something about this, I can help you, or maybe I reach out to you by filling this out? How does that work?
Yeah, if you saw something that interested you, definitely reach out to probably the person that is most applicable. So it sounds like you're interested in some kind of.
If you can contact me, I can put you to the right group. Because right now it's Adam leading the DR project and Drew will lead Clement Waters project. Jake is helping out Adam, so they're co-PMing that project. And if any element in a particular project interests you, just let me know and I'll put you back to them.
Cool. Thank you. I was trying to keep it general to benefit everyone, but yeah.
It's a safe bet to reach out to any of the directors.
Okay, cool.
Okay, thank you.
And you want us to turn these in to?
Yes, yeah, I will